This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, getting you ready for today's sports day.
3 of the first 4 games have been at home, so at some point in time you're going to have to venture outside the 806, so that'll start this week.
While having a little fun along the way.
Always good if you can blame it on somebody else, right?
Yeah, sure.
Especially some media guy.
Sure. Right, some media guy.
Catch the show live weekday mornings from 6 to 9 on Lubbock Sports Station, Double T 97.3.
I was thinking yesterday as the Houston Christian coach got tossed, I was thinking, I wonder, if you get hired by a, Trinity Baptist or a Houston Christian or, fill in the blank Catholic, fill in the blank this Methodist, whatever, the denomination, hell, even the Buddhists. Do you, is your code of conduct, is it expected to be a little bit better on the sideline than the average, let's just say state college, technological college, university, fill in the blank of that. Do you think, or do you think it matters?
I would guess that you're not, they don't expect that at any point you'll, start preaching call the travel or the devil will come down and bring wrath upon you and your family. It's probably frowned upon.
But Preacher Jed and Sister Cindy back in the day.
I would expect that you're allowed to argue with officials for your team. I mean, they made you the basketball coach for a reason.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, I get it. I just didn't know if maybe getting tossed was, I guess maybe occasionally you're going to do that. But it was pretty well deep into the game, and it happened right in front of us, and so I was I didn't really understand what the egregious nature. Maybe it was just a thing where it just kind of built up. Maybe he was just a little frustrated because I think one of his players said something to the official that got the second technical, which was boom boom. And
maybe he was just sticking up for his player.
Yeah. Which is, again, I got no problem with it. It just was curious if not that we expect them to read from Luke or anything on the sideline during the timeout, but just wondered if they had extra codicils in their contract that your sideline behavior will reflect the Christian values of our Houston Christian team. Or Dallas Baptist or Philadelphia. But Dallas Baptist, they don't go by that anymore, do they? They go by DBU, right?
I think Dallas Baptist, yeah, I think they still do.
Okay.
I think you're allowed to say both for them.
I didn't know if they had any special kind of...
I could be wrong, Chuck, but I thought they were all right with it.
Okay. All right. Hey,
it seems like that was the one school that I was kind of proud of for, hey, we're both.
Okay,
but maybe I'm totally wrong on that.
Sticking with it, Yeah. As opposed to issuing some kind of edict to you.
Yeah, no, that drives me nuts.
That does. It drives me nuts too. Yeah. We're getting ready to be out of that season. They take on the University of California Riverside today, so I don't think there's any, edict on how you say UC Riverside. It seems pretty.
Don't say University of California Riverside. Right. That's so offensive.
They did have a gal on their team. Her name is Finau. And I was like, is that Tony Finau's daughter, the golfer? But there wasn't anything in there. I always look for things like that. I'm always looking for those little name the sport, doesn't matter. Son of, and he played 17 years in Major League Baseball or played in the NBA or got a cup of coffee in the NHL or dad was a defensive tackle or something like that. I love the little tidbits like that. Mm-hmm. Sprinkle that in. I love seeing that. Somebody says this, what I'm looking for in the ladies game today is for Jazz Lewis to dominate the paint, and I love how our 2 freshmen, Jazz Shavers and Bailey Maupin, are balling. Yeah. Maupin's dropped off just a little bit. I think just the kind of getting caught, they're starting to scout her more and kind of get on her a little bit more. They probably want her to pick up her defense a little bit. Shaver certainly shot the ball better. Jazz Lewis, the challenge there is just being able to stay on the floor. Would be great if she could play more minutes. But
Yeah, I've been excited about Shavers of late. Now she was at Mississippi State, right? So she's a second-year player.
Yeah, but she didn't play.
Right.
Yeah.
But second year out of college, and I think it makes a difference, and I think that's showing.
Yeah, and she was with the Lady Raiders last semester, so there. I saw this early this morning, and I immediately thought of you because I thought you will like this story. The football player's name is Trey Palmer. He plays for Nebraska, but for him, name, image, and likeness is off of his radar. He has turned down name, image, and likeness things to the point where, according to this college sports publication and database, it's called On3. His valuation sits at $420,000 a year. They say the average Power 5 college football player has an NIL valuation of about $50,000 a year. Now, that's really going to fluctuate from the Quinn Ewers to the guys that are the walk-ons, right? So to say that everybody's getting 50 is not. I would really like to know what the mean is, where half above are getting this and half below are getting this. But anyway, the point is, his manager, it's amazing these guys have managers now, right? Said they've turned down over 20 possible NIL partnerships from food and drink beverages to sports gear companies. He says this: I'm just not taking the little money right now for the bigger bucks, really. I just want to get to the NFL and do what I do and take care of my family with that money instead of taking short-term money for long-term money. So I can respect that. He transferred to Nebraska after 3 seasons at LSU. This past year, he played in every game, caught 71 passes and 1,043 yards and 9 touchdowns. His receiving yards set a Nebraska record. So anyway, well, I just thought that was a good story. He's now declared for the 2023 NFL draft. Are you suspect of this?
No, I wouldn't say I'm necessarily a suspect. I don't understand. I mean, it's not like you can't do both. Like, he couldn't have had NIL money in college and then also made money in the NFL. I
know. I guess he just didn't want to lose his focus on what he was doing on the field for his team.
Yeah, because these guys that are getting NIL money have to do so much to get their money.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've just been bombarded by commercials with these guys.
I mean, don't you see every one of our basketball players hawking a car dealership or a fast food restaurant or a
clothing store or whatever?
Yeah, here in town.
Yeah. No. Okay.
I'm confused by him. I'm fine with it. It's great. Whatever.
I just thought, well, good for him. I mean, he's trying to be focused. Okay.
Okay.
Well, swing and a miss. No runs, no hits, no errors. We go to This Day in Sports History next.
You're listening to the Morning Drive podcast from Lubbock Sports Station, Double T 97.3, recapping the night that was in the world of sports.
A little bit later on tonight, we'll have the Astros and the Diamondbacks. That'll be at 8. And then the Rangers playing at Seattle tonight.
And also bringing some humor to your day.
Was it pretty big?
Yeah. I mean,
impressive?
Yeah.
Was it fascinating?
I thought it was fascinating. It kind of smelled, but I mean.
Hear the show live weekday mornings at 6 on Double T 97.3 or on the Double T 97.3 mobile app.
This is the last time we'll be able to say this this year. It's 12/22/22. How about that? With This Day in Sports History, here is Jeff McGuire on this 22nd day of the 22nd year.
Correct. 1915 is where we will
You
start.
act like it was a surprise, like it snuck up on you or whatever.
Well, I was
Oh my goodness.
I wrote down 12/22/22 earlier today, and I was like, oh, how about that? It's 12/22. 22.
Well, I'm looking forward to the 23s of next year.
Right, we'll have
All
those
of
too.
them. Those will be exciting. How many do you think there'll be?
I think there'll be 12. I don't know how many that we'll get to enjoy, though.
My money's on 12, yeah.
Well, but I mean, there's not 12. They won't be
it could
all
be a
during the
weekend.
Yeah, it could be a weekend.
Oh, that'll be disappointing.
Cheated out on that,
Yeah.
You can still enjoy the weekends.
Right.
We won't have them here in This Day in Sports History.
Sure, no, I got it, yeah.
1915, organized baseball and the Federal League sign a peace treaty in Cincinnati. The Federal Baseball League would then dissolve.
I wonder if they smoked a peace pipe.
I don't know, but I did think it was the wording of this was the way it made it. Sign a peace treaty.
Right, yeah.
Like, I realized that they were, quote unquote, at war, but yeah. 1943, manufacturers get permission to use a synthetic rubber for baseball cores.
As opposed to cork, I guess?
Yeah, that would be my assumption.
Or maybe they used cork and said that.
Or maybe it had to be natural rubber from the trees. 1969, Pete Maravich sets an NCAA record for hitting 30 of 31 foul shots. 1983, Indiana Pacers win 133-132 in Denver to end a 28-game losing streak on the road.
As soon as you said 130, I was like, well, they had to be playing Denver.
1995, David Cohn signs a $19.5 million 3-year contract with the New York Yankees.
Did all right there.
Worked out really well for him.
And in 2003, the New York Knicks hire Isaiah Thomas as president of basketball operations.
That didn't go so well.
That did not go so well. They're still trying to figure out. The Knickerbockers are still trying to get back to 1970.
It is National Date Nut Bread Day.
Yeah, I don't care for that at all.
I'll take date night over date nut bread.
Date night bread. So many questions. I don't know where to start. So we'll go with the birthdays. Happy birthday to Ted Cruz, is 52 today. Diane Sawyer, 77. Steve Garvey, 74. And Steve Carlton is 78. And on this day, in 1894, a French officer, Alfred Dreyfus, is convicted of treason by a military court-martial and sentenced to life in prison for an alleged crime of passing military secrets to the Germans. The Jewish artillery captain, convicted on flimsy evidence at best, in a highly irregular trial, began his life sentence on the notorious Devil's Island prison in French Guiana for 4 months later. However, 4 years later, Major Hubert Henry, discoverer of the original letters attributed to Dreyfus, admitted that he had forged much of the evidence against Dreyfus, and then Henry committed suicide. Soon afterwards, French Major Ferdinand Esterhazy, who was the real culprit in all of this, fled the country. The military was forced to order a new court-martial for Dreyfus in 1899. He was found guilty in another slow trial and sentenced to 10 years in prison. However, a new French administration pardoned him, and in 1906, the Supreme Court of Appeals overturned his conviction. The debacle of Dreyfus' affair brought out greater liberalization of France, a reduction in the power of the military, and a formal separation of church and state.
That's what it led to, the formal separation of church and state. Okay.
In France. Not here. We had that early on.
Okay.
And that is this day in sports history.
All right. Stay in sports history. Thank you, Jeff. It is 6:50 morning drive. I saw this yesterday, and I was like, well, this is kind of interesting. And then when I just peeled back the onion one little layer, and I was like, well, I'm completely uninterested in that because they're not even playing a game. I mean, they announced the rosters for the Pro Bowl yesterday, okay, for the AFC and the NFC. The problem with the Pro Bowl is they announced in September that they would no longer play a conventional game. Okay? Mm-hmm. So they're just going to have basically a skills competition that would include some flag football and stuff like that. Peyton Manning's going to coach the AFC team, and Ray Lewis is going to be his defensive coordinator. So I don't know. Then all of a sudden I became uninterested in it. This is going to take place at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas on February the 5th, which would be the week before the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I saw the headline. I didn't read who made it and who didn't, but depending on which events they have, it could be really entertaining to watch. Okay. I mean, remember a few years ago they had a dodgeball game?
Yeah, that was entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, that was super fun. I remember Zeke just crushing it. It's like greatest dodgeball player ever.
We found something he can excel at, right?
He has a running back too.
He's doing all right. He's had a better year. They didn't really say what all the skill level competition is going to be this year. So, but I was just like, well, I wonder who's all on the roster. Then I was just like, well, who cares? They're not even playing a game. But yeah, you make your point about the skills competition was.
Well, I mean, I think it's probably more about just being honored as, okay, we think this guy was the best in the AFC at his position.
Sure. No,
more than playing a game where everybody goes half speed,
right?
Except for the wide receivers.
Right. Are you interested in who the Cowboys were?
I saw that they had 7 of them, like second in the league, right? I think the Eagles were the only team that had more.
Zach Martin, DeMarcus Lawrence, Micah Parsons, Trayvon Diggs, CeeDee Lamb, Tony Pollard, Kevontae Turpin. No Dak Prescott.
He missed a lot of games.
Yeah, I guess it really doesn't surprise you.
And I mean, his numbers, I just don't think this year bear out him being that guy.
Yeah. Eagles had the most with 8, and Cowboys and Chiefs had the next with 7 each.
Your morning dose of coffee and sports. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3. Catch the show live weekdays from 6 to 9 on Double T 97.3 FM or on the Double T 97.3 mobile app.
It's nice to have you with us this morning on the Morning Drive. Hopefully you can get your kids down at the proper time on Saturday night so they can await the arrival of the decorated man.
That's not usually hard, is it? I mean, don't they want to go to bed early so they can get up? You can't wake up until you get to bed.
The excitement level. Well, I mean, we're going to have the boys will be with us Christmas Eve. They've been with us for some time, which is great. So I don't know. It's been a while since I've had an excited kid in the house, except for me. Christmas Eve. I mean, I still got a little kid in me. I'm kind of have that anticipation.
That's good. That's a positive thing.
What's in my stocking and
I think
stuff like
that. We all should have a little kid in us.
And so I'm kind of, looking forward to Christmas morning and seeing the joy and the excitement and all those kinds of things. So I'm looking forward to seeing that and experiencing that. So we'll see how everybody goes to bed on Saturday night. Mom and Dad they're pretty good about that. This guy here is soft. I'm soft. I'm soft. I was soft at the concession stand yesterday. The oldest, I'd gotten M&Ms for both of them and some hot dogs, and we didn't get any cotton candy. But then he saw this other green box. And he was like, "I want some of those too." And I'm like, "Grandma said no on anything other than this." Yeah, but I really want that. And I caved. I was like, okay. I caved. Put them in my pocket, and then he was like, "Can I have some of that?" And Grandma was like, "Well, what's that?" I'm like, "Well, he wanted that." "Well, what is that?" I'm like, "Later. Tell him he can have them later." So he had them later. And then neither one of them made a very good dinner last night, so that's probably my fault. But, I owned it. Hey, sorry.
Yeah, not your problem, right?
Yeah.
Not your problem. Parents can deal with that.
Yeah, sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Sorry about you.
I'm sorry.
You shouldn't ask me to watch your kids. Sorry about you.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, so the other thing that I guess the thing when you look at this recruiting class, and you never know how these things are going to pan out, but it looks like they got some dudes, Jamie. I guess that's what it looks like more than anything else. They signed a full class. They don't really have a whole lot to add. They may add. I'm guessing they may add some transfers. As things may, open up on the roster, some guys may.
Oh, sure, already have, and we'll continue to.
Some guys may exit, at the spring, or at the, at certain times here in the next few weeks. But it looks like, and I don't know that they got everybody they wanted, because that never happens. But got some size, along the defensive line and offensive line. players that had experienced success. They got some local kids, which is always important. We talked about Caden Carr from Lubbock Cooper, and they got Isaiah Crawford from Post, and they got John Curry from Coronado High School. So, and then they got a kid from Trinity Christian as well, Marcus Raymond Edwards. So, there's been criticism of past staffs, and Anthony White, he's a player from Abernathy who did not play this past year because of a knee injury, but is rehabbing, and they've obviously added him as well. I think he's a preferred walk-on. But, there have been past staffs that have been criticized for not going out and getting a kid from Plainview or a kid from Tulia or a kid from, heck, even here in town, at Coronado High School, who went to TCU, or, legacy players whose dads played here. Now, we don't have any of those this time around, I don't think. But, hopefully this is a sign of things to come that, if you have a kid that's in this area, and let's define this area as within the, the 8 counties or so that surround Lubbock, who's a Division I prospect, who's considering going to name any school in the country for the most part, man, you ought to be at least in the finalists or getting that kid. And, if you're winning football games and providing excitement and, opportunity and all those things, then you should be able to sell him on coming here to play football.
You would think so.
Yeah, you'd think
Unless he's one of those kids that some kids in college age just want to get away.
Sure, and that's certainly understandable. But
sure.
One of the ways that you do that is to create a winning environment. So when these kids are 9, 10, 12 years old and they're going to these games, whether it's football or basketball or baseball, and they're like, hey, I want to do that. I want to experience that. I want to, when they rush the field or they rush the court or they go to Omaha or something like that, and like, I want to be one of those guys someday. Mm-hmm. And then when they are those guys, that they're not doing that for TCU or Texas or Texas A&M or Oklahoma State or whomever. Because we've seen too many times kids go to some other schools. And like you said, sometimes it's the case of, hey, they just want to go somewhere else and play. I get it. But, the conventional thing is that they've signed their best class since 2011. That's what people are saying.
Ranking wise, yeah, that's good.
And so when
2011 was a long time ago.
Right. Mm-hmm. Just think about it. Those kids that were, 10 years old then are 22 years old now. They're done with their college. And even in a ranking like 24/7 Sports, they have Texas Tech at 23rd, ahead of schools like Mississippi State, Michigan State, North Carolina, Washington, Nebraska, Kansas State, Louisville, Baylor, Missouri, Kentucky, Maryland, Virginia Tech, Ole Miss, UCLA, Iowa, West Virginia, Northwestern, Minnesota, Iowa State, North Carolina State, Arizona. The list goes on and on and on and on and on. So, those are real schools, that this recruiting class is ranked ahead of. We have not always been able to say that.
Yeah, no, that's definitely fair.
And you're just know that when I say real schools, they're all real schools, Chuck. You're right behind Utah and Arkansas and Florida State and Auburn and TCU and Michigan. Okay, Michigan's 17, TCU's 18. Both those schools are in the college football playoff. And I'm not here to suggest that 4 years from now you're going to be in the college football playoff, but you don't get there to the college football playoff or to the top of your particular conference if you're at least not ranking high in recruiting. Because the better recruits you get, bingo, the better players you get, right?
It's about Jimmys and Joes,
yeah.
Not X's and O's.
Yeah.
Yeah, and usually those teams that you see in the college football playoff are finishing around that area in the recruiting rankings each year. Yeah. So in the top 4.
Yeah. And unfortunately, you look at the top 4 and it's the usual suspects. Alabama, Georgia, Texas is 3, Miami's 4, Ohio State 5. And, oh, by the way, guess what? Georgia's in the college football playoff and So is Ohio State, and Alabama was just on the outside looking in.
Do you look at these anymore and say to yourself, wow, Nick Saban or whoever is such a great recruiter? Or do you look at these now and go, man, they spent a lot of money on that class?
I
think it's a combination.
I do. And the other thing, too, that I think about more than anything else, too, I think there's tradition of winning, too.
Yeah, those schools that have a tradition of winning, I better have some money to dish out in NIL.
Oh, yeah,
too.
no question. But I just think that even whether it's NIL or not, schools with winning tradition, great players are attracted to that.
Absolutely, no question.
And so in order for you to be successful, you've got to have success on the field, and like they did this past year in beating Texas and Oklahoma.
You're tuned in to the Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3, recapping the night that was in the world of sports.
That's not to say that they don't respect the run game that you have, but you're talking about one quarterback leading the conference in passing so far this year. And remember, he didn't start the first game.
All right.
Still played a lot, though.
And also bringing some humor to your day.
I just don't want to disappoint you. As much as I disappoint you, I don't want to disappoint you in some things that you expect from me.
Hear the show live weekday mornings at 6 on Double T 97.3 or on the Double T 97.3 mobile app.
We've lost another degree. Down to 6.
Yikes.
6.
Yikes.
Think we'll get to 0?
So do we just have a BA, or was it our master's we lost?
Well, master's degree. Oh, yeah, well. I never even attempted to do a master's. Did you ever attempt to do a master's?
I did not.
Did you ever think about it?
No, I did not.
I thought about it, but I never did anything about it.
What were you going to get your master's in?
Something.
I think you are already the master of a lot of things.
Oh, I don't know about that. I really thought someday I thought, if I had done this when I was single, if I'd have known I was going to be here this long, I probably would have done it when I was single. Not that I would have done anything, but I thought it'd just be cool to be able to say I had a degree from Texas Tech, but I never did anything about it.
Yeah, I do agree. It is cool to say you have a degree from Texas Tech.
I won't ever know that unless I get some kind of honorary thing someday, but I don't think that'll ever happen. That would be pretty cool, though.
Considering they call you their favorite Jayhawk, I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon.
I think Clint is, but he didn't go to school there. So he just claims it. All right, your question, sir.
All right, I'm going to Red Raider football today. Mm-hmm. It's a two-parter.
Oh, man.
He's sometimes struggle with these.
Well, I was going to say the one-parters are hard enough.
All right, I want you to tell me a Red Raider football game this year that you lost, that you feel like you should have won, and I want you to tell me one that you won that you feel like you should have lost.
Okay. Let me pull up the schedule here. I feel like that you should have lost the Houston game because they were in the red zone numerous times, and I feel like that Dana Holgorsen, as the head coach, lost that football game for Houston. I feel like that without question that Texas Tech should have lost that game. You won it 33-30 in 2 overtimes. Okay, and a game that you lost that you should have won. I guess, Jamie, I'm going to say, I'm going to say the K-State game because I feel like that missed field goal was huge in terms of momentum, and that you had some opportunities to win that game. So I'm going to say should have lost Houston, should have beat K-State. Jeff?
Chuck, you're half right. Should have beat K-State. You had that. You should have beat K-State, period. But when you look at how the teams fared the rest of the way, when you look at the talent of the opponent on one, and how it happened, who it happened to, and how you didn't do it a lot this season, getting Texas to fumble in overtime, that's a game you should have lost.
See, my second choice was going to be Oklahoma. Jamie?
Okay, so I'm going to say the one that you won that you should have lost was Houston. They had the lead for most of that game. They had a lead late in that game. Remember, after a field goal, I mean, I can't remember how much time was left on the clock. When you get the ball back, you're down by 3, and it looks like you're dead. Mm-hmm. Donovan had a long run to set up the long field goal from Wolf. And then you win in OT, so a double OT. So I feel like that was the one that you won that you probably shouldn't have. It felt like Houston controlled that game the whole day. You just made some plays when you needed to. Donovan was really good down the stretch after really struggling for most of the game. So you were lucky to come away with a win that day. I think the one that I look at, I hope this is not me just like showing my hatred or whatever. But, like, I look at TCU, okay? You end up losing that game by 10. And remember, you were ultimately down 34-17. But the debacle with the messing up with the officials on the downs, okay, was, that was big, okay, in my opinion. The questionable... I mean, the pass interference against Miles Price that ended a drive across midfield. I mean, stuff like that. The 15-yard face mask penalty, even though we get, it looked like it was the right call. I mean, that just was like, that didn't actually happen, and that extended a drive that led to 7 points for TCU. It would have been like 3rd and 17, and instead it was 1st and 10, 15 yards down the field, and they score 7 on that drive. And then I look at, your offense was moving the ball at will while Barron was in there, and until he got hurt, that just completely changed things with your offense. So I look at that TCU game and feel like, man, you had a great chance to win that game. I don't disagree with you guys on Kansas State as being one that you could have or maybe should have won. The field goal was massive, but I just look at that TCU game and say there were so many things that went against you that weren't your fault, that were huge, that were just huge, whether it be the officiating, whether it be the downs, whether it be the injury. I know that's just part of football. Yeah. But it just felt like, man, the football gods were not with you that day at all. And that was a game. And then the game gets out of hand because you start going for every 4th down and all that good stuff. Yeah. But because you're behind and all that. But I just felt like that's one that easily could have been the other way.
Okay. Somebody says this off the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Should have lost versus Iowa State in multiple trips in the red zone by the Cyclones, but they couldn't make field goals.
That's a really good point.
That is a great point.
Yep.
That is a great point. Hard to say UT is a game you should have lost because you went up by 3 with 21 seconds. It should have never gotten to overtime. That's fair as well. Anyway, that was a good question. That was the one I didn't anticipate. Not that I'm really good at anticipating.
I like to keep you on your toes.
Not that I'm really good at anticipating your questions, because I'm really not, to be quite honest with you. I sit here dumbfounded every day, and kind of show it too most days.
Your morning blend of sports.
K-State is coming off a big win over Oklahoma. Of course, the Red Raiders off their 37-34 overtime win over number 22 Texas.
And humor.
Sure to tell them that. You suggested that. And, of course, they got a big laugh.
This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3. Catch the show live weekdays from 6 to 9 on Double T 97.3 FM or on the Double T 97.3 mobile app.
I have a stupid question, and
I probably have a stupid answer.
On the 12 days of Christmas, is it the 12 days before or the 12 days after? It's the 12 days before, right? Because the wise men get to baby Jesus on the last day, right?
What do the wise men have to do with the 12 days?
I think that because it's 12 days, there's a biblical thing there. I'm not really. The 12 days of Christmas is related to when the wise men made their trek. It was like 12 days out, I think. Something along those lines.
Tell us where you're leaning, Jeff.
I lean toward the 12 days after.
Okay.
But I could be convinced to go either way on this with just a feather nudge.
Which way?
So you're saying after, because the wise men came on that day and started giving gifts?
Yes.
I think I've always in my mind had it. Well, really, I don't think I've ever thought about it. Okay, but now that I do, I assume it was before leading up to. But I don't think I put the two things together.
Okay.
I don't think I put the biblical part with the 12 days, because the 12 days is more of a Hanukkah thing.
Okay, so here we go. The 12 days of Christmas are the last 6 days of the old year, so the 26th through the 31st, and the first 6 days of the new year, the 1st through the 6th. Okay? Mm-hmm. Now, Christians believe that the 12 days of Christmas mark the amount of time it took after the birth of Jesus for the Magi, or the wise men, to travel to Bethlehem for the Epiphany, when they recognized him as the Son of God.
Dang,
So-
you can get to Finland. You can get to Finland faster than that.
Yeah.
Nailed it. I thought you said you thought it was before.
Well, I nailed it because there was a biblical reference to it. What are we doing? I got to take my victories as I can, Jamie.
Okay. You nailed it. There's 12 days of Christmas. Yep. Mm-hmm.
So there you go. One of my...
Yeah, I didn't even put together the biblical side of things.
Okay.
I just thought it was some silly song.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite basketball games of the year is tonight. I doubt that I watch a second of it, but I'll be anticipating the result of it. Okay. It's the bragging rights game. This game will take place between the University of Illinois, who are currently ranked 16th in the country. They're 8-3 on the season. And they take on the Missouri Tigers, who are 10-1 on the year. They've had a bit of a cupcake schedule. They will play in St. Louis, Missouri, which is, proximity to both Illinois and Missouri. And the reason I love this game is because no matter the year, no matter how great Missouri's players have been versus Illinois, whether it was Lou Henson versus Norm Stewart, or whomever's coaching now versus whomever's coaching now, Missouri always finds a way to lose this game. And it means, I think, more to them than it does to Illinois. And Illinois, in the 52-year history of this, has won 33 times, and Missouri's lost 19 times, including last year 88-63. So if you're a betting person, Illinois is favored by 6.5, and I would tell you they'll probably win by 10.
Illinois is actually good.
Yeah, right. They're good. They're good.
They're kind of back.
They're kind of back, but I always love it when this game is played, because I know that it means more to the Missouri people than it does to the Illinois people, and the Illinois guys always seem to find a way to win.
Jamie, you know what this goes to show, right? You can take the boy out of Kansas, but you can't take the Kansas and the hatred for Missouri, his own home state, out of Kansas.
That's right.
Yeah, the most entertaining basketball game of 2022 was played at the Rip Griffin Center the other night. So
Friendship and Trinity.
That was a lot of fun. So this one is gonna pale in comparison to that one. Chuck, you should have just gone on Tuesday night.
I should have.
You should have just gone. There would have been a lot of people there for you to shake hands with. I'm never really interested in that matchup there. It doesn't really do anything for me. But I'm trying to think of, like, wasn't Kenny Battle a stud for Illinois?
Probably, yeah.
D. Brown, right?
Yeah.
D. Brown.
Yeah.
Who was the really good point guard they had that played with? Seemed like he played with D. Brown. Darren, somebody that played in the NBA with the Jazz.
Don't know.
Can't remember. Anyway, Illinois used to be a great team. They used to be fun back in the day, in the late 80s.
Lou Henson.
Yeah, Lou Henson, with his square head.
With Lou Do, yeah.
And his square haircut. Yeah. Yeah, Illinois used to be a cool team. They've just fallen off the map.
I know, right? They're back.
Yeah, that's cool.
This from the Yates Flowing Center chat line. I love that they play this game. I won't watch it, but I appreciate the fact that they play it. Very Zoolander of you, Chuck. Okay. Bobby Hot Dogs wants to know if we've prepared our grievances. It's Festivus Eve today. We air grievances.
Yeah, we don't hold back.
Yeah.
That's one of those things we don't wait for one day a year. We get those out pretty much immediately around here.
Let's see.
You know what that's from, right, Chuck?
Would you repeat
the airing
that?
of grievances?
Yeah, it's from Seinfeld.
Okay.
Yeah, I knew that. Yeah.
It's pretty much what we do all day, every day around here.
Right, we air a lot of grievances.
We just grieve.
we just grieve. All right, Texas Tech. They took down Houston Christian yesterday. Here's Coach Adams. He was asked if the team is starting to move in the right direction.
You know, we probably had more room for improvement than most teams with only 3 players back and 1 starter back. So, and with these 7 underclassmen, we knew it was going to take time, and we're still doing a lot of teaching, and we're not there yet. And I think this team's going to continue to grow and improve. And you know, I'm hopeful this team will be playing its best basketball in March, and you'll keep seeing us hit those plateaus of getting better and better each week.
That's spoken like a true coach. We have a lot of room for improvement.
Yeah, I agree with everything he said there.
Yeah.
With so many new players, you expect that the team is going to improve and get better as the season goes along. You're going to be a lot better in mid-February than you were in early December, and hopefully you're playing your best at the end of the year.
When do we hit our peak? Do we hit our peak this time of year, or do we hit our peak in like April? Like you, me, and Jeff. Do we have a peak? Or
we're the reverse bell curve?
Are we just a plateau? We are the plateau for this station.
Well, we're pretty consistent.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
See, I always think of us as the reverse bell curve. So we start high and then drop off into nothingness.
I feel like that we...
I know when we were at our worst. The day before Chuck goes to a Lady Raider road trip or on vacation. That's usually when we're at our worst.
Why
it just gets a little loosey-goosey.
Okay. I was going to say, why the road trip? I get the vacation.
Yeah. It gets a little loosey-goosey.
Does it? Okay.
Yeah.
And we very slowly get back to level, and then we fall off again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's the reverse bell.
Sometimes those are the most fun shows to listen to.
Isn't that the whole...
But maybe not to be a part of.
Isn't that the whole deal here? I mean, there's a escape from life, have, just a little fun, a song, a dance, a laugh or two.
Sure.
Okay. 8:23 this morning here on the morning drive. One last thing from Coach Adams. He was asked, is he more confident with Big 12 play looming?
Well, I'm nervous. I probably a lot of really good teams in the Big 12, and we've still got to continue to work on cutting down mistakes, but we're getting better, and this is a team that will compete, and there's no doubt our guys will step on the floor and going to play hard, and yeah, it's here whether we're ready or not. But I think our guys are getting in a position both mentally and physically. Bacho got to play some valuable minutes, and JT sings a little better. DH is better with he's had that ankle problem, and so we're nearly there. We just got to get Fordas back on the floor, and that should happen hopefully sometime in January.
Why isn't he FA?
I don't know.
Play basketball is all about the initials.
It is. It's
the DH and the KB,
the big fella,
KOs, and
You've been listening to the Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3. For more from Lubbock Sports Station, go to doublet973.com.